Do you ever find yourself holding back, maybe not saying things because you have a fear of conflict, or maybe because you feel like what you have to say isn't really that important or it doesn't matter? We've all been given a lot of messages about how we ought to think or speak or act, which can really make it difficult for us to let go of the fear of what others are going to think if we express what's going on inside. But self-expression is actually an act of self-love. So in this video, I'm going to talk about this second karmic block to self-love, which is inhibiting your self-expression. And I'm going to be talking about one way you can begin to express yourself and feel good about it. So stay tuned. Hi there, I'm Lisa Engles Witter, and welcome to my channel where I help spiritual seekers just like you to harness the ancient wisdom of yoga to live an extraordinary life. Now, the goal of this channel is super simple. I just want to make it easier than ever before for anyone to find happiness and fulfillment in their everyday life by using what has already been passed down to us for millennia. Now, maybe one of the biggest challenges that people come to me with is saying that they find themselves stuck and repeating that same pattern or that same lesson in life over and over again. A lot of people that come to me are frustrated, they're at a loss because they've already done years of the work, whether it's coaching or therapy or spiritual practices, but they're still struggling maybe with the same unhealthy relationships or feeling like they should be further along in their life than they are, whether that's personally or professionally or spiritually. So if you can relate to that, then I invite you to head over to www.karmic-warrior.com to grab my free report on why you keep getting handed that one lesson in life, even if you've spent years doing the work. And in this free report, I reveal to you the secret about harnessing the law of karma so that you can finally break free of that one lesson so that you can live a freer and fuller life right now. I put the link in the description below. And by the way, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Click on the little notification bell if you haven't already, because I do post new videos like this one on a regular basis. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the second karmic block to self-love, which is self-expression, or being inhibited in our self-expression. Now, to be fully self-expressed really is an act of self-love, because through our expression of our thoughts, our desires, our fears, all of our feelings, our hopes, our dreams, our insights, the reflections that we have, what we do is we shine the light of awareness on everything that wants to be seen that's within us, so that it can either be healed or so that it can be revealed and brought into reality as an expression of the divine. Now, the problem is that we do get messages from our family and from society and from our communities that we hang out in about how we should think, what we should say, how we should act in life. And that really does affect so many people and inhibits them from saying or expressing what's really going on inside. So before I share some ideas on how you can unlock that expressive side of yourself, it's good to identify maybe some of the reasons why you might have a hard time expressing yourself in the first place. So here's just a few. The first one would be a fear of conflict, right? Not wanting to be in conflict with other people. Maybe, though, you have the second one, which is this belief that negative feelings are bad, right? Sometimes it's referred to as emotional perfectionism. I don't feel negative feelings. I only feel love and positive feelings. Believe me, whenever I have someone come to me and say, no, I don't feel anything, I don't feel ill, I don't feel negative about anything, you know that they are harboring some anger and resentment down there. So maybe that's you. Another thing that can get in the way is is being passive aggressive, feeling like, it's just easier to be a little bit more passive aggressive in order to get what I want than to be just upfront and express what's really going on inside. Another thing that comes up, I'll just give a couple more here, is this belief that if we express ourselves, that it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to make a difference anyway. I'm not going to express myself. Is that you? Let me give you one more. There's a whole bunch of them, but one more that might come up for you is believing that you should just get over it or, suck it up instead of saying what you really want to the person or the people. Maybe it's a work situation or you're in a strange dynamic with someone and you're like, forget it. It's not worth saying. I'm going to let this one slide. I just need to suck this one up. Or maybe I just need to get over it, right? So any of these can be reasons why we don't express ourselves. But in the view of non-dual Shaiva Tantra yoga tradition, it's believed that the manifestation of all creation is the result of this inherent impulse within reality to express itself. So another way that you might think of it, or another way that maybe I could say this, is that all of creation, including you and including me, is the result of the divine sensing an infinite range of possibilities within itself and then saying yes to all of those possibilities, again, including you, including me, and including all of the situations and circumstances throughout all time and space that could ever have happened, that ever were, are, or will be, And since you and I are no less than a unique expression of the divine, every time you hold back expressing yourself, you are in essence negating that very divinity, which is an act of self-hatred. So to not be fully self-expressed is an act of self-hatred. Obviously, you can see why that is a block to self-love. Withholding your thoughts and feelings from others denies the value of your natural impulse for self-expression. Your self-expression has value because it is an act of self-love. So maybe this is a new concept for you, right? But think about it for a moment, because it's very, very profound and it's very important. Your self-expression has value because it's an act of self-love. All right? So maybe you need a little bit of help. Well, how do I get started with this self-expression? So let me just give you one little thing that you can do for skillful self-expression, because we can be self-expressed and maybe not do it so skillfully sometimes. In other words, those times when there are some people who have no problem being self-expressed and have what we would say no filter, and they just express everything that's inside, and that's fine and that's good. But sometimes it's a little bit unskillful, and so it can cause hurt. We don't want to do that. We want to skillfully express ourselves. So there are two aspects to self-expression. The first aspect is more of this internal aspect, and it's all about connecting to the thoughts and the needs that are associated with a particular circumstance. Okay, so if you think maybe you want to, as we're doing this, think to yourself, what is a particular circumstance that's up for you in your life right now that you really need to talk to someone about and get something off of your chest. Okay, so you're going to connect first to the thoughts and needs and feelings associated with this particular situation. The second aspect of it, the second piece of it, is expressing those thoughts, needs, and feelings in a skillful way, in a way in which you can flourish, and hopefully in a way in which the other person or people involved can also flourish. So Marshall Rosenberg, who I mentioned in a previous video, he's created a very, he's passed now, but he did create a very powerful body of work called nonviolent communication, or sometimes people call it compassionate communication, which you can find in his book called Nonviolent Communication. Highly recommend it. But let's take a look at how this works in practice. So we want to connect to, as Marshall Rosenberg would say, what is alive in me? So think about that. What is alive in you as it relates to this particular situation? When you find yourself in a situation, you want to take time to notice those dominant thoughts. Now, let's use a super simple example. Say you have a friend and they've canceled on you a number of times. Every time you make a plan with them, they've canceled on you. And it's like, okay, this has become a pattern, and you're noticing you need to talk to them about it, right? And so maybe you have the thought, God, they're so disrespectful. Or you have the thought, what a flake. I can't even depend on this person. So those would be the thoughts you have. All right, so good. You got those thoughts. You're clear on the thoughts. Now you want to become aware of the feelings that are arising around those thoughts. So maybe you're just angry. Maybe you're resentful, or you're disappointed, or you feel hurt. Any number of those things. Identify what those feelings are. Then the final piece is identifying what your need is. But in this case, it would be your unmet need in this situation. So maybe your unmet need is for this person to be reliable or accountable, or to respect your time. Identify what that need is and how it is not being met. Now, I do want to point out that this process works equally as well when you want to connect to a positive experience, because sometimes you might have a hard time or feel sort of choked up and not able to express yourself when something positive is happening. Like maybe you're hanging out with some friends and having like a blast with your friends, and you're wanting to express how much you're enjoying that time. So you would just do the exact same thing. Notice what are the thoughts that you're having, like, oh my God, this is the funnest time I've had in ages. That would be your thoughts, right? Then become aware of the feelings that are alive for you. I feel excitement. I feel so joyful right now. And then what needs are being met? Well, maybe your need for connection to be met is being met, or your need to be seen and to be heard. Those are being met in this situation. So it works for either type of situation, which is beautiful, right? So then now we go to the second part of it. And the second part of it is all about expressing yourself. How do you express what's alive in you in a way that is skillful, in a way that can be most received by the other party? So all you do is you put these three pieces into a statement, and it doesn't need to be too formulaic, but at first it might feel a little bit clumsy or awkward, but as long as you get these three elements in when you're expressing to the person, then you'll be okay, right? So let's do the first case, which would be this person your friend who keeps flaking on you, so the way you might express it to them is, so-and-so, I'm telling myself this story that you're a total flake, right? That's your thoughts. Because you've now canceled on me in the last minute X amount of times in a row without apologizing. Okay, so that's the part where you're saying what actually happened. And I feel angry about it, right? That's just your feelings. Because my need for you to have you reliably show up isn't being met. All right, so there you have it. You've said it all in one succinct, piece of. You've given them this. Hopefully, how you feel, what you're thinking, and what your needs are in a way that can be received by them. Right? You could also do it in the opposite way as well. With the other example we were talking about, oh my gosh, this is the most fun I've had in a really long time. That's your thoughts, right? And I'm feeling just this really deep sense of joy, your feelings, because of this connection that I'm having with you right now, your needs that are being met. So again, I just want to stress you don't need to be super formulaic about this. As long as you get all of those 3 components in, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, or your unmet needs, then you're good to go. And this is a way that you can begin to skillfully express yourself. The really great thing about this format is it does allow you to communicate without shaming or blaming the other person when you're not feeling satisfied, and to really accurately communicate your appreciation when you are feeling satisfied. So I invite you to give this a try and start expressing yourself, because it is an act of self-love. So thank you so much for joining me. I would love to hear your thoughts about this content in the comments below. What is your experience with self-expression, and are you going to give this a try? Thanks so much for joining me once again. As I just said, I hope you join me in the next video where I'll be talking about the 3rd karmic block to self-love. So be sure that you're subscribed and you've clicked on that notification. Look forward to seeing you then. Take care and namaste.